Fermenting your feed is an easy way to increase the nutritional value of the feed that you're already buying, and also it way cuts down on waste. So first of all, when you ferment feed, it actually increases in volume. This is the same amount of feed in both of these jars. This is after 3 days of fermentation. You can see that it's swollen up a little bit. So this is going to be more filling for your livestock and more hydrating. So that's another benefit, is especially in those summer months, or maybe even over the winter when the water's freezing and you're worried about hydration, if you give your livestock this super soaked fermented feed, it's also going to have a majorly hydrating element to it. As well, because it's in this kind of liquidy, gooey form, you're going to be cutting out on waste because you won't have all of those grains spilling all over the ground. Another great thing about fermenting feed is it makes the nutrients in your feed more bioavailable to your livestock. That means that they can actually absorb and digest the feed more easily, and they're getting more of those vitamins, minerals, protein, etc. out of the feed, because this fermentation process breaks down some of the non-nutritive things in your feed. And then probably the most popular reason of all is this fermentation process is going to provide your livestock beneficial bacteria, and that is going to improve their gut health. And improved gut health means improved immune function. Works the same for people as it does for animals. So all of these things are kind of a beneficial cascading effect down the line. And so if your animals are healthier, they're going to be more disease resistant, and they're going to be providing you with higher quality eggs, meat, or dairy. So now that you're probably all fired up to try it out, let me show you this super simple process. So the first thing we're going to do is a little bit of research to figure out how much feed you need per day. So you take however many animals that you have and you look up about how much feed they're going to go through each day. You're going to add that up, and then you're going to cut that number in half. So we're just going to ferment 50% of what we would expect the animals to eat from a dry feed. And then from there, you're going to measure it out using a scale, because as every good baker knows, 1 cup of flour is unlike any other cup of flour when it comes to weight. So you always want to go by weight and not volume, so you know exactly what you're doing. And the other reason is you don't want to ferment too much, because this fermented feed does not last very long. You really need to go through it that day. By the way, you can use crumbles or pellets, but I am using our mega layer mash, and the reason is it has these whole grains in there that you can see, and at the end of the ferment, as you can see here, it's a little bit less mushy and not quite so runny, so it's a personal preference, but it'll work no matter what you use. So once you have measured your feed, you're going to grab some water, and it's ideal that your water is not chlorinated, because that will actually disrupt the fermentation process, because the chlorine is going to kill a lot of that fermented bacteria. If you have chlorinated water, no big deal. What you're going to do is you're going to prepare your water 24 hours in advance, just a little bit more legwork, but you're going to pour your water out first, and you're going to let it sit for 24 hours. You can cover it so nothing funky gets in there, and that's just going to let the chlorine break down so the fermentation process can happen. So you will cover your grains with the water with just a little bit on top of extra so that it can absorb, and you may want to mix in and add a little bit more water throughout the fermentation process. So I would recommend checking on it once a day. But after you've added your water, you're going to go ahead and cover with some sort of gas permeable cloth. So I've just got this white towel here. You can also use a cheesecloth or a tea towel or anything else that works for you. I just sealed it with a rubber band, and then you are going to keep it at room temperature. Generally around 75, 80 degrees would be ideal, out of the sunlight. So I'm going to put it in a cupboard, and then again, you can check on it once a day, make sure that it's submerged in water. If it's not, add a little bit more. You can stir it up once a day. And then after 3 days days, you're going to have a lovely ferment. And you can pour off any excess water before giving it to your birds, but if you're not sure, you can give it a sniff. It shouldn't smell gross. It should smell nice and yeasty, like a sourdough mix, or kind of like if you walk into a brewery where they're brewing beer. That's the kind of smell that you should get. And then from there, you're ready to feed your chickens. So I hope that you have found this video helpful and informative. I'm so glad that you've made it all the way through. Please consider subscribing and liking this video and share it with someone who you know might find it useful. And we'll see you in the next video.